Hey, what's up everybody? Jake here and welcome to the hobby. In today's video, we're going to talk about some of the best modern Pokemon cards that you can have inside of your collection. And I went really specific with this list. There are tons and tons of really cool, gorgeous Pokemon cards that you can add to your collection. And there are plenty of expensive cards. Believe you me, if you want to spend $100,000, you can easily do that in a second. But that's not really our goal. I'm really talking about the cards that are going to wow people the most. These are cards that you can very easily display inside of your collection, and they're going to look great, gorgeous, and everyone's going to want to talk about them. They are going to be the trophy, the holy grail inside of your collection. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that this list was at least obtainable. What that means is that these cards are still in some level of reasonableness in you being able to get them in a couple of years if you truly pursue these cards. There are going to be cards on this list that are just a couple of $100. There are cards on this list that are a couple of $1,000, but nothing that I feel is outside of the realm of possibility. We're talking about cards that are $10,000 and more. There are no cards of that level of expense on this list. So without further ado, let's get started, and these cards are not in any particular order, but the first modern chase holy grail card that I would consider adding to my collection would be the Arceus Dialga Palkia Tag Team GX card. This card in a PSA 10 is currently going for roughly $600 to $700, and we are going to be using graded prices because these are going to be the pinnacle of your collection. You really want these cards in graded slabs. You really want them in the best condition possible because these are meant to be the display cards inside of your collection. These are cards that you want to wow your friends with. Even if they don't collect Pokemon cards, you want these cards to really pop. What is great about the Arceus Dialga Palkia card is that everyone can sort of recognize why it's so cool. It is a tag team trio of the god Pokemon on a single card. The card is really unique because it's a statue of the three Pokemon, a monument to them rather than the Pokemon themselves. It's a very interesting take. We don't usually see an art style like this, and it hasn't been done recently. The only other card that I can think of that is similar to the same vein as this would be the Stained Glass Bird Trio. That one is another really iconic card. But if you want to really wow your friends, I think a big hitter for your trophy collection has got to be the God Trio. Next up, for gorgeous holy grail cards that you can add to your collection, I would pick up the Japanese Espeon VMAX in a PSA 10. This card is currently going for right around $500, a great card to add to your collection. There is an English version of this card, however, the Japanese version I actually think is a little bit more exclusive because it came out only inside of a very specific Eevee Hero special box, which that box by itself is bonkers in terms of price, so I wouldn't even consider that route. If you want anything inside of the box, it's really going to be the Espeon VMAX card. And I know the Umbreon VMAX gets a ton of love, but the Espeon VMAX is just as gorgeous. The hollow pattern on the Japanese card is completely different from the English version. The card gives off a very strong fairy tale kind of vibe that I absolutely adore. There is so much detail inside of this card art that you just cannot fathom unless you hold it up for a solid 30 minutes and really stare at it. There's just so much detail in every single piece of architecture inside of this card. I absolutely love it. It's really gorgeous, and there's just nothing comparable to it. There's no other card that I can think of that is in the same vein as this one, as something like the God Trio. So really gorgeous card and a great display piece. Everyone recognizes Espeon, and this one is a display worthy card that you can talk to your friends about how you got it, about how unique it is, how special it is, and that's what makes a good display piece. Next up, and you probably expected this to be on the list, and that is the Umbreon VMAX in a PSA 10. The English version of this card is currently going for right around $900, which is insane for a modern card that is available inside of booster packs. A really cool card. This one is just legendary status at this point. Even people that don't collect Pokemon cards still know about it as the Moonbreon card. It is really gorgeous on display, and it is a nice card to have to your collection. If you have this card on displays, your friends are going to point at it, your friends are going to talk about it, your friends aren't even going to believe that you have this card, and that's why so many people open up Evolving Sky, is because they want to be able to tell that story. That story about how they opened this card, and now they have that story for a lifetime. Of course, can you just pick it up on the secondary market for $900? That is not a cheap price, but yes, you absolutely can. And as far as a modern trophy card goes, this one is one that I don't even have inside of my collection, but boy, do I want it someday. It is a really cool card to add. Next up, we have one of my personal favorite, and I cannot gush over this card enough, and that is the Beauty Looking Back Pikachu. You've probably seen me display this card, and it is an absolutely gorgeous card. This is one of those rare Pokemon cards that actually transcends being a Pokemon card. This is a card that you can absolutely display, and people are going to look at it and ask you, what is this? What is this card? Why do you have it on display? And that's what collectors like me love. I love being able to educate people. I love being able to gush over my cards and tell people the story and the history behind some of these cards, because the Beauty Looking Back Pikachu card is iconic, it's historic. The card barely looks like a Pokemon card. People might not even recognize that it's a Pokemon card, which is why it can fit so easily on your display. People are going to be able to recognize, especially if it's graded, what it is, and they're going to ask you, hey, what is this? What is this card? And that's when I get to blow their mind with an incredible story about how it is a Japan Post exclusive. And of course, I can show off the stamps and go into so much rich history on this card, which is why people love adding it to their collection. And honestly, I'm shocked at how rare this card is getting. When I looked on eBay for doing research on this video, there was less than 10 listing for this card, which is very, very few. Most people who have this card are not willing to let go of it. So it's becoming significantly more rare, and I can tell you that's how some cards really climb up in value, is that there are more demand than there are supply for some of these cards. It's just getting more and more expensive. Next up, we have one of the true holy grail cards for a lot of modern collectors, and that is the Scream Mimikyu. This card is incredibly rare. You probably see me display it, and it is that desirable. In the same vein as the Beauty Looking Back Pikachu card, this is another card that really transcends being a Pokemon card and moves into that art realm where it actually becomes a true art piece. While the Scream Mimikyu is a part of a 5-card larger Scream set, I would say that the Scream Mimikyu is by far the most rare and highly desirable of all 5 of them. I know collectors who have to spend months, if not years, working up to build up enough liquidity to get themselves a copy of this card. How much is it currently going for? This card is currently going for $5,000 in a gem mint graded version. You can definitely go for a cheaper copy if you just want to have this card inside of your collection. I think any copy is worth having inside of your collection. However, if you're looking to display this card, and this is one that you definitely want to have inside of your display case because it is gorgeous, you are going to want this card in a gem mint condition, which is why so many people are willing to pay $5 grand for a gem mint version of this card. It's been out for a couple of years now, and it's just getting more rare. We only have a couple of cards left to talk about, but none of them are going to be boring. And the next one is another very iconic card. This is just a list of the who's who's when it comes to the best looking and the most gorgeous and highly desirable modern Pokemon cards out there, and this is no exception. That is the Latios and Latias Tag Team GX card. This card is just iconic. So many people use this card as a part of their Valentine's Day, as a part of their wedding, as a part of their proposal. It is a really gorgeous card, and there is so much meaning inside of this card, which is why so many people absolutely love this card. It's shocking to both me and probably you that at one point this card is going for as low as $20, and now in a PSA 10, this card is worth right around $2,000. Still within the realm of a card that is obtainable, but still very, very expensive. This is a display-worthy card. This is a very cool card that you definitely want to be inside of a nice display case that people can't easily steal from. A really cool card, and honestly, it's up to you to find the meaning behind some of these cards, whether you want to add them to your collection, what do they represent, and what do they mean for you. You probably aren't going to be able to afford every single card on this list. I know it's absolutely bonkers how expensive some modern arts are, but these are the trophy cards. So it's up to you. How do you want to display your cards? Is this one that makes sense to add to your collection? Are you going to be collecting alt art cards, or are you looking for cards that have some deeper meaning to you personally? Lots of people pick up the Latias and Latios card as a gift to their significant other, to their partners, to their best friends who love Pokemon cards, whoever it is. So that's why some cards just have some more personal meaning, and that's why some people just aren't willing to let go of some of these cards. Speaking of cards that really transcends art, we have the Giratina V. This one is just about as iconic as the Umbreon. Another really cool card in a gem mint graded copy is going to cost you right around $700. That is really bonkers for a fairly modern card that just came out a year or two ago and is still readily available inside of a bunch of modern products. While the card is only available inside of the Lost Origin set, Lost Origin booster packs are pretty much readily available in a bunch and wide variety of collection boxes. You can find Lost Origin booster packs in just about any product. And that's what's really cool about this, is that this is a card that is absolutely obtainable right now. You can go to your local Walmart or GameStop and pick up a couple of booster packs of Lost Origin, and you might actually find this card inside of one of the booster packs. It's incredibly rare, but that's a story that's worth having, and that's why this is a display worthy card. Is you can just get it on the secondary market, but this is one of those cards where it's still within the realm of you actually being able to obtain a raw copy by yourself. That's where I'm currently at. I don't have this card, but I can tell you lots of people love it. It has really chaotic energy, and it is definitely a unique art piece that you can add to your collection. Last but not least, we have what is probably the holy grail for modern trophy display worthy Pokemon cards, and that is the Mario Pikachu card. It is not the most expensive modern card. That's not what this list is. But if you're talking about an iconic Pokemon card that everyone wants inside of their collection, that everyone wants a copy of, that everyone wants to display, it's gotta be the Mario Pikachu. While there is a partner, which is the Luigi Pikachu, I chose to pick the Mario Pikachu out because it is the slightly more desirable of the two copies. If you have both copies, that's absolutely amazing. They look great as a pair. However, most people can't afford both copies, which is why some people just stick to picking up the Mario Pikachu by itself, because it is the more iconic of the duo. If you're looking for anything to really be the cherry on top of your modern Pokemon card collection, I think the Mario Pikachu is by far the most iconic, the most display worthy. And as far as I'm concerned, whenever I do a vote on what cards people want the most, the Mario Pikachu always wins by an absolute landslide. This is the card that everyone seems to want, and everyone seems to hate not being able to get this card at an affordable price. How much is it currently going for? As of right now, September 2023, the Mario Pikachu is currently valued at right around $6,000 in a gem mint graded copy, and that is a very expensive card, but I still inch it in as an obtainable card. Isn't that ridiculous that I think a $6,000 card is obtainable? But I do think that if this is a trophy card that you really want to have inside of your collection, you can work up to it. You can spend hours working enough to get a copy of this card. It's not outside of the realm of possibility to own this card just yet. I think once you go into the $10,000 range, the $20,000 range, that's when it's absolutely not obtainable. That's absolutely ridiculous. No average person should be spending that kind of money on a piece of cardboard. However, I think for $6,000 to have a super cool iconic Pokemon card that everyone wants to add to your collection on display, because it is a display worthy item, this is not something that is meant to be sitting dust inside of your closet. You should absolutely show off this card. I think $6,000 is still within the realm of reasonableness for a really cool trophy card. Alright buddy, that's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed this general list of what I think are some of the best holy grail and trophy chase cards that every single modern collector seems to currently want. I know I throw a lot of lingos out there, and I know I didn't pick some cards that you might have wanted me to add to this list. There are other cards that I know are more expensive than the cards on this list, but that's not really the point. I think these are the cards that people tend to gravitate towards the most. These are the most iconic cards. These are the most popular cards. Whenever I ask people what cards you want for your collection, these are the cards that people constantly talk about. And so that's pretty much the disclaimer for this video. I do own some copies of these cards. I don't own every card on this list, but of course, because I own some of the cards, I am biased towards this list because I actually get to look at the cards, I actually get to examine it a little bit closer, and I say, yeah, I actually think this is probably going to be the best modern cards that you can add to your collection. You can let me know how wrong or right I am in the comment section, and I'm happy to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.